This is my physical media haul for the month of April. This is where I show you every single title I picked up for the month, including DVDs, Blu-rays, 4K, slipcovers, steelbooks, boutique labels, you name it. I'm going to show it to you all right now, give you my thoughts and recommendations on every single title there. And of course, just have a great time talking the movies with you. But before we get into that, first go ahead and mega smash that like and subscribe. That way you stay entertained and up to date on all the latest physical media topics. And leave in the comments below what you pick up for the month of April. But let's get into this pile, no particular order. So first up, we got a nice looking steelbook with Guardians of the Galaxy, the Mondo steelbook from Walmart. Picked this one up in the wild, and I just absolutely love this MCU movie. It's one of my favorites. I love what they do with this ragtag group of characters, and they make all of them interesting with heartfelt moments. Love the character arcs in this one. It's just a super fun time with one of the best soundtracks from any MCU movie. So I didn't have this one in the collection already, so it's not a double dip. Happy to finally have this one on 4K in such a cool steelbook edition. I love it. So colorful, fits the theme of the movie perfectly. All right, next up, because if I got one steelbook, I had to get a second steelbook, and this one's going to be for Dread. Yes, I finally just gave in and had to pick up Dread. I was mad for paying the extra price on it because it was more expensive now than when it first came out from Lionsgate, but it just looks so cool, and I love comic book movies, as you guys know. The design was just catching my eye. I actually really like this one. It's very stylized, a lot of bloody, gory action, slow-mo moments. It's just very entertaining to me. So if you're looking for just kind of dumb action fun, you'll plug in Dread. You have a great time. Happy to finally have this one in the collection. All right, and if two steelbooks wasn't enough, we had to go three times the charm. With a third steelbook, of course, we went with Doctor Strange Mondo steelbook. Also found this one in the wild at Walmart, and I didn't have this movie in my MCU collection either. I know, I couldn't believe it myself. So finally happy to have the 4K, and I actually quite like this Doctor Strange movie. Some of the most emotional moments in the MCU, like when he gets into that car accident at the beginning and the damage from his hands. Oh my gosh, such really powerful, intense stuff there, and great visuals. This is a fantastic looking MCU movie, very creative. So I really enjoyed the first Doctor Strange. Happy to have it in the collection now. Once again, great Mondo steelbooks. All right, next up, we got some boutique label stuff here with Kino Lorber. They had their Kino Lorber sale. Had to pick up a few titles. I was waiting for a good discount on, so I finally got The Usual Suspects. Wish I had the Slippy with it, but this movie was actually pretty entertaining, very thrilling. There's a mystery behind it all, and it comes together at the end. So the ending, the twist is really powerful. Really enjoyed that. So if you haven't seen The Usual Suspects yet, go into it completely blind. I didn't know nothing about the movie really, and yeah, I was kind of blown away by the end. So I enjoyed this one for what it was. Is it super rewatchable? Probably not after you see the ending, but at least for a one-time watch, I can recommend it for that. So yeah, The Usual Suspects. All right, next up from Kino Lorber, we had to finally get this one, another blind buy, The Monster Squad. Don't know how I missed out on this movie in my childhood, but this movie was fantastic. It's so fun. It's kind of like The Goonies, but with Universal Classic monsters. They're just so cool to see them all together. And yeah, it's fun for the whole family. I think this is kind of a gateway into horror movies, I guess you could say, at least the Monsterverse. But yeah, I enjoyed this one. You also get a bonus Blu-ray disc in there of a documentary, which is fantastic. Wolfman's Nards, which I learned a lot about the Monster Squad and its cult classic status, and that was very informative. So the documentary is almost worth it alone. You get an awesome movie in this. It's fantastic. I really, really like the design as well. So Kino Lorber did a great job for a very underrated movie, in my opinion. Really like the Monster Squad. Definitely would rewatch this one again. Happy to have it in the collection. All right, next up from Kino Lorber, we're gonna have Kindergarten Cop, this was another blind buy for me. Can you believe it? I did not yet see this one until I got it from Kino Lorber, and I actually really like this Arnold movie. You basically have him undercover as a kindergarten teacher, but it's funny to see how he kind of takes control of this classroom. There's some good comedic moments in there, but also some heartfelt moments in that one as well. So I could definitely connect to this one as an educator. And yeah, I really like this Arnold movie. It's good action moments as well, pretty thrilling. So yeah, I would recommend Kindergarten Cop. Kino Lorber did a great job on this one too. Really like this title. All right, next up, we're gonna have finally they came in from the Disney Movie Club. We had James Cameron 4K titles, yes, Aliens, which I would probably say was the most film grainy out of the three that I got, of course. But I really like this movie now on a rewatch. When I first watched it, I was like, kind of lukewarm on it because I really like the original. That's more horror style. This is much more action. But if you go into this one with the action mindset, you're gonna have a good time with Ridley and Newt in here, and just that character arc is fantastic, and just plenty of alien action fun. So yeah, I did enjoy this on rewatch. I think I'm gonna like it more and more as I go through more rewatches. But yeah, the 4K looked great, sounded great to me, in my opinion. All right, next up, of course, we're gonna have The Abyss. Yes, finally to 4K, and this movie was stunning in 4K. The alien creature design and the aquatics of it all, just the environments were so gorgeous to look at in 4K. Like I said, it blew my mind. Like I like just looking at this movie more than the story. The story's kind of okay for me, but just being in there with this 4K quality just was fantastic. I loved it. So happy to see this one get the upgrade, and you get the different cuts on this movie as well, the different versions. Same with Aliens, they gave you the different versions as well in there. So yeah, happy to have this one on 4K too. Look better than Aliens in my opinion, but I like the Alien story maybe a little bit more, so toss up there. But I think the true winner out of the James Cameron 4Ks is going to be True Lies, because I just really like this action comedy kind of movie with Jamie Lee Curtis, Arnold in there, good chemistry. It's super fun, super entertaining, and the 4K, oh my gosh, this looked like a squeaky new penny. It was so clean, you could not find one little piece of film grain in there, and I like that style. I like when things look very nicely kind of digitally filmed and just squeaky clean. I know some people don't, that's perfectly fine, but I love this 4K. Really enjoy this one. The colors really popped in this one for me. So yeah, True Lights, very fun, entertaining movie. Highly recommend the 4K. All right, next up, we gotta have Gifted. This was recommended in the Collectors Club, and I actually really like this movie. I don't know how it missed my radar. You got Captain America in there, Chris Evans, and then you have what's her name? Mackenzie Grace, is it? The one that plays Phoebe in Ghostbusters. But the movie's really heartfelt, just a very heartwarming story. Also, a little bit of a courtroom drama in there. There's actually some dark comedic moments. So it's a very crowd pleasing movie. I think most people will enjoy it to some degree or another. So if you've never seen Gifted, I highly recommend this one. This one just kind of stuck with me. Such a emotional story there. You might get a little teary eye with Gifted. All right, next up, we are going to have another Collectors Club recommendation, City Slickers. This is the Shout Select edition, so you get a nice little cool slip cover on this one and some decent special features to learn more about the movie, of course. But yes, what can I say about this movie? So the comedy, the humor isn't really for me. I know some people like that style of like, I guess, slapstick kind of humor. To me, that's not my go-to humor. I more like raunchy comedies. So the humor fell really flat for me, but I actually thought it was quite a good story with this dad having a midlife crisis. So he has to go out to this old west retreat with his buddies to kind of rediscover himself as a cowboy. And there were some good heartfelt moments in here. So I like the story, didn't like the humor, so pretty decent overall. So can't highly recommend, but some people I think would absolutely love. All right, next up, we got to have one I did not absolutely love and can't absolutely recommend. And that was also a recommendation from the Collectors Club. We got Black Sheep. This one has, of course, Chris Farley and David Spade, so kind of think a Tommy Boy, but not as good. This one just fell super flat for me. I didn't think it was funny. Chris Farley was just doing his kind of average Chris Farley thing in here. And I don't know, I wasn't laughing. I wasn't laughing, and the story was just kind of okay. Felt like I've seen it before. So yeah, really nothing that stood out as, oh, you need to see this movie for that reason. It was just kind of okay across the board. There's better movie options out there if you're trying to get this kind of humor. So yeah, can't highly recommend. All right, next up, we gotta have, because I was getting into preparing for a Guy Ritchie filmography stream, we're gonna have Swept Away with Madonna in here. Never heard of this movie, and still I had to pick it up because I was once again researching Guy Ritchie films, and I was kind of surprised he did this one. It's not his typical style he's known for, but this one was kind of cute. It was like I guess, a romantic comedy where they basically get trapped on an island. These people that hate each other. There's commentary on the social class system. Kind of think a Triangle of Sadness, but I kind of like this one for what it was. It had its cute moments. So yeah, I enjoyed it overall. If you're into that style of movie, you might get a kick out of it. All right. Oh, and that was Swept Away. There we go. That's the title, Swept Away with Madonna. All right. Next up, we got to have a really gem of a find. I found out in the wild in Las Vegas at Record City. I found the Alfred Hitchcock The Legend Begins 20 movie classic collection here. And I'm a big Alfred Hitchcock fan. I wanted to get more movies of his into my collection, and this was a lot of his classic stuff. There was, once again, plenty of movies in here, also some TV episodes thrown in there. And I haven't gone through the whole thing yet. I only went through disc one. Now, the quality was pretty terrible on this because they basically stacked 5 movies on top of each other for each disc. So, the quality is going to be very degraded with the compression. So, it doesn't look great. It looks actually pretty bad. I will say that. But it was super cheap, right? It was like, what, 5-ish bucks right there? Something like that. So, for what you got, actually kind of enjoyed this pickup. It was kind of a nice little find and a good way to kind of get through some classic Hitchcock stuff without having to invest heavily. Because I guess you get what you pay for. But there were some movies I saw in here where it's like, oh, I'm glad I didn't go the more expensive option. But I finally saw it. Can check it off the list of Hitchcock. All right. Okay, next up, this was a blind buy for me. I thought this was going to be on a stream I was preparing for. So I'm like, okay, I got to get this movie Out of Darkness. It turned out not to be on the stream I was preparing for. So that got all mixed up in my mind. So I'm going to watch this one eventually. But it's a horror movie with cavemen. I think so. I don't know. Is it going to be terrible? Probably. We'll see. I'll give it a whirl when I check it out. But yeah, Out of Darkness. Don't know too much about this one. I saw the trailer and I'm like, kind of intriguing, but I don't know if I'm going to love it. All right, next up, like I said, preparing for Guy Ritchie filmography stream. So we had to pick up Rock and Rolla, and it came with Swordfish, this Blu-ray double feature, and there's no case. I know what you're saying. They just came in the little disc cases, unfortunately. So they came in like that, which is not fantastic or ideal. I should have read more about the details on eBay. So that's my fault there. Could have done a little bit more research with that one, but I didn't need to see Rock and Rolla anyway. I didn't want to pay overpriced for it. And I thought, oh, getting Swordfish, that's kind of cool too, because I heard that's a good movie. Well, I haven't seen Swordfish yet. I want to get to that one eventually. Great cast in there. Rock and Rolla itself is typical Guy Ritchie style, right? You got a lot of British humor in there. The cast was pretty decent. But overall, I don't know. I felt like it kind of gets lost in the shuffle with Guy Ritchie films. It's not one I would say, hey, top of his list. It's more bottom of the list for me. Like, I feel like he's done the premise better in other movies. So I can't highly recommend unless you are really into that typical Guy Ritchie style. If you haven't seen it, give it a whirl. It's not bad or anything. I didn't love it either. It's just kind of in that okay spot for me. All right, next up, talking about a movie I do love from Guy Ritchie, The Man from Uncle. Oh, this movie is fantastic with Henry Cavill in here. I just really like this kind of this team up that the Americans and Russians have to do to complete this mission. They get in all sorts of shenanigans, a couple twists and turns in there, really good comedic moments, great, fantastic action moments. So yeah, I really like this one. I think it flows pretty well too. So The Man from Uncle, if you haven't seen it yet, think it just got announced for a 4K from Arrow, if I'm correct. I believe that's pretty cool. But yeah, The Man from Uncle, I did enjoy this one. Highly, highly recommend. All right, next up, we got to have, oh my gosh, this movie I was blown away from Guy Ritchie. I don't know how it slipped by me. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. Um, oh my gosh, this movie was fantastic with the actor from Sons of Anarchy. Oh my gosh, if you're into fantasy adventure movies, this movie is great. It is bonkers with the action and just the environment. I'm like, this is one of the best fantasy adventure movies I've ever seen now. It is so cool. Like in some moments, it feels like you're getting immersed into a video game with some of the action sequences. Oh gosh, it's super bonkers for a Guy Ritchie film. Like Guy Ritchie films, are usually a little bit more, I guess, tamed or more realistic in a way. This one is just something way, way different from him, and I really appreciated that. So this actually probably is my go-to King Arthur movie now. And like I said, if you haven't seen this one and you're into that kind of genre, I recommend it. It was so, so good. Definitely one of the higher ones up on a Guy Ritchie filmography list, in my opinion. Really liked it. All right, next up we got Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, another Guy Ritchie film. This is once again very similar to the rock and roller vibe. I think this was one of his first ones, if not his number one, first movie that came out. Great cast in there, as you can tell from the front cover, of like Jason Statham and all these other guys. But I don't know. Some moments I'm like, okay, this is working. Other moments I'm kind of lost. It wasn't hitting me as much as some of his other titles. But once again, if you like the typical Guy Ritchie flavor, it fits right into this. I just think Guy Ritchie has done this one better since then, like with The Gentleman and things of that nature. So yeah, can't highly, highly recommend unless you're once again into Guy Ritchie movies. All right, next up, we gotta have the one everybody loves from him that I think is way overrated is gonna be Snatch, which of course you get an amazing cast in there of like Brad Pitt. I mean, you can't doubt that. Jason Statham again and all that great stuff. But I will say, I don't know. People love this one. People love it. Some people say it's his best film that Guy Ritchie has ever done. And I don't know. I don't connect with it on that level. It's solid. There are some cool moments. I like how things tie together by the end, but once again, it has those moments of greatness, but just the flow to it, it's just these movies confuse me sometimes. Like sometimes I lose track of them because it's so much how it's edited together and how it's paced out and back and forth, just jumping around, jumping around. I don't know. It doesn't work for me as well as you know. Regular storytelling, I guess, if that is even a thing. I don't know. It's no King Arthur Legend of the Sword for me anyway. Just my opinion, but everybody else loves this one. So if you're trying to get into Guy Ritchie, I would say check it out just because it's kind of his go-to. All right. Next up, we gotta have, yes, more Guy Ritchie films with the Sherlock Holmes combo. This is the ones with Robert Downey Jr. in this. And I actually like these Sherlock Holmes movies. I thought the performances were really good. They're probably my favorite Sherlock Holmes movies now. There's some good action, intense moments. The moments when it does slow down. I like the mystery to it all. I like how it's paced and the puzzles and how it's pieced together by the end. But once again, that fighting choreography, once it goes into kind of like a flash forward moment and then jumps back, I think that does work for movies like this. So yeah, Sherlock Holmes and Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows, I think are both really good watches. Visually, very stunning too. You can see there's a good budget behind them as well. So really like the acting talent in these movies. Highly recommend. All right, next up, Ooh, a newer one from Guy Ritchie that I saw in theaters. I was happy to finally pick up on physical was The Covenant. Yes, with Jake Gyllenhaal and Dar Salim, who just gives an amazing performance in here. Shame that he wasn't nominated for an Oscar for supporting actor on this one. But I really like this movie. If you're into military operational movies, you're gonna like this one. This one also has some just heartfelt emotions in there, good action, intense moments. Another film I think is well paced. It's a fascinating story. I think it is based on a true story, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, really, really good. Just solid, solid movie. And it's different from what you would expect a Guy Ritchie film to be. So yeah, like I said, I like these more kind of Guy Ritchie movies rather than his typical kind of spliced together, edited background story. You know what I'm saying? His other movies get a little bit lost for me. This is very just streamlined, easy to follow. So The Covenant, really, really like this one. Highly, highly recommend. But there we go. Those were all the physical media titles I picked up in the month of April. And if you stuck around, as a bonus, I will show you a collectible I forgot to show off last month when I picked it up. And this was actually from the Ghostbusters Frozen Empire showing. I showed you a couple things last time, like Popcorn Bucket and Cup and Slimer, but I didn't show you this Ghost Trap. How did I forget to show this one? The one that came from Regal. This one is cool. You got the handle on there, which is fantastic. And then, some decent little details in here, which is cool. Yeah, it has some knobs on that, which is nice. You also have, of course, the wheels at the bottom. So it has some things to it. Also, you can kind of open it up. Whee! Maybe put some popcorn in there. I don't know what you want to store in there. I guess some ghosts. Get some ghost popcorn. But there you go. I was happy to pick that up just because I thought it was so creative of a design just to get something like that at a movie theater. They don't always do that. So I thought it was kind of cool. I like them having that little merch out there. But there you go. That was everything I picked up in the month of April. Once again, let me know in the comments below. What'd you pick up? What'd you like from my collection I just showed off right now? And of course, if you haven't already, go ahead and mega smash that like and subscribe. That way you stay entertained and up to date in all the future physical media months of amazing haulness. I'm going to keep it coming at you guys with amazing movie greatness. And then, of course, just have a great time talking the movies. If you love this physical media topic, mega smash the next one right now. And thank you so much, my mega membership supporters. If you love talking and collecting movies, consider joining the Mega League of Film Fans through memberships to support content creation while gaining access to perks like shoutouts, exclusive videos, and future topic choices.